Saat ini, pergerakan pasar saham di negara berkembang lebih banyak dipengaruhi oleh kondisi global. Sebenarnya, apa yang sedang terjadi? Lalu, apa yang bisa dilakukan investor? Berikut analisis dan tips dari Taye Shim, Head of Research KDB Daewoo Securities.
Well, I think the recent market developments hints us that the market is currently driven more with the external factors rather than internal factors. In April, the JCI broke the new historical high at 55.23 points. And starting from the peak, the JCI plunged close to 25% to 4,120 points, making JCI one of the worst performer in the global space. And if you look at the FX rate, it also underwent some large swings as it hiked up to 14,700 levels, and now it's currently trading about 13,300. And it's pretty much disturbing investors because there is a very big swing in the local market. And this, I think, was a natural response to the global developments. Such as if you follow some of the recent developments in China, Eurozone, and the US, you can understand that China, the economy is growing at a much slower pace, and investors are a little bit concerned about the possible hard landing of the world's second largest economy. The Eurozone, the inflation rate recently turned to a negative zone, despite the fact that they're purchasing bonds worth 60 billion euros per month. And in the US, the recent development is that the Federal Reserve will not be able to lift up its interest rate within this year. So basically, there's a lot of uncertainties and policy mistakes possibly down the line. So basically, there's a lot of bad news in the market, and typically the common sense is that bad news is bad. But however, if you looked at the market recently, you could see that bad news in China and Eurozone, it's bad for US, but counterintuitively, it's actually positive for Indonesia and all the emerging market space. The JCI reversed this trend in 2 weeks and jumped 10%, and the FX rate also jumped, appreciated 9% within just 2 weeks time frame. We ascribe this to 3 factors. One is that ever since the non-farm payroll data was released for the month of September, there's been growing consensus that the Federal Reserve is unlikely to raise interest rates within this year. Indeed, if you look at Bloomberg, the probability of the US Federal Reserve raising interest rates within this year is below 40%, whereas the market consensus is currently betting on a March liftoff. Secondly, you have to understand that global central banks right now are currently aggressively easing their monetary policies. We've seen China, India, Norway, Taiwan, which have all recently cut rates. And we think that liquidity is here to stay. So basically, I think market investor sentiment was a little bit reinforced with the fact that market liquidity is going to stay, and it actually turned into a higher risk appetite. Last but not least, the central bank led by China and Russia are currently selling off their USD FX reserves. And according to Bloomberg, the 2 countries year-to-date as of third quarter net sold 346 billion. The sectors that I think is that has good outlook or positive outlook would be the financials and the consumer staples names. In our recent report looking out for clues, we recommended investors 2 stocks, which is Shim, given the fact that we think it's going to translate to a little bit of a crowded trade and acting as a price catalyst once the refloat initiative has been complete. And according to the company, the refloat initiative will be finalized on October 26th. So after that, the Sampuerna will be included into the JCI index, which I think will increase the demand side of the equation. Secondly, we recently introduced Garuda Indonesia, which I think was one of the key beneficiaries of the recent government's third economic stimulus package, given the fact that jet fuel has been reduced by 5% for the international and 1% for the domestic lines. And secondly, President Jokowi recently waived the visa for the 45 countries, which would actually lead to more flow of tourists into Indonesia, which I think should be also positive for Garuda Indonesia going forward.